At every accounting conference with an AI session, and there are a lot of them now, someone says the same thing: AI won't replace accountants. It will replace accountants who don't use AI. Everyone nods, everyone goes back, changes nothing. Today, we are going to try something different. Welcome to another episode of Numbers and Facts. Myself, Arihant, where we talk about numbers that count and facts that matter. My guest for today has been on every side of this profession. She was a tax attorney in the OPR, now a professional. She's seen it all. She's not here to be and she's not here to be polite about it. Welcome Sharon to the show and thank you for doing this. Over to you.
You so much for inviting me. So at least you were polite and didn't say I was a tax nerd, which is exactly what I am. Though I'd have to say I never started off as a tax nerd. I went, my undergraduate degree is actually in broadcast journalism. So, in a different life, I could have been a podcaster. Uh,
Yeah.
but I ended up going to law school. And one of the clinics I did was in tax. And it was helping taxpayers who had issues with the IRS, helping them in tax court plead their case. And I just found it fascinating how tax really touches every part of our life when you think about it. Right? If
Yeah.
you get married, there's a tax consequence. Now you're married filing joint. Right? If you have a child, you've now got a dependent. If you start a business, that's a Schedule C or investments. If you sell a business, now we have capital gains or dividends or liquidating distributions. Right? So no matter, and if somebody passes away, there's a tax consequence as well. So tax had this broad touch over every factor of life, and I really enjoyed that. So after finishing law school at Rutgers Law School, I decided to do one more year of law school at NYU in what's called the LLM, Masters of Law and Taxation. So it was one whole year of intense tax classes, which were pretty intense.
Yeah.
When I finished that, I ended up clerking for a U.S. tax court judge. In case you're not familiar, there is only one tax court in the United States. It's in Washington, D.C. There's about 19 judges and some special judges. So it was a very small group. I spent 2 years working for a judge, looking at both sides of the case story, right? Where it was, which I can't say is just it's just a fantastic way to start a career as a lawyer. You're not IRS and you're not taxpayer. You're somewhere in between. So it was a great way to spend 2 years looking at both sides, seeing who made better arguments, their basis for them, coming up with that rationale and analysis. So I finally got back to California after my clerkship and ended up in a law firm in Beverly Hills that did nothing but tax controversy. Generally, were you in trouble with the IRS, civilly or criminally? And hopefully it was only civil. And just had a great 14 years with that firm, 7 as an associate, 7 as a partner, really seeing it from the taxpayer side, making those arguments, looking at that research, trying to find what substantiation you had to find, trying to make the best case possible, going through volumes and volume of documents, looking for things that would help you. I left the firm and went into teaching. So I went to Cal Poly Pomona, where I'm now an associate. I'm a tenured professor who teaches tax, which I adore because my biggest goal is when I get my class, I ask the students, how many of you want to do tax? They're all accounting students. And it's like, maybe I get 1 or 2. And at the end of the class, I'd say, how many of you want to do tax now? And like more than half the class raises their hand. I don't know if they're looking for good grades or not, but it warms my heart. So
Yeah.
I convince them that tax is just an exciting story, just an exciting thing to do. It's unique in its way of interpreting things. For a while, there was one of the things I learned or picked up when I was at the law firm was how let's just say, an incompetent or a disreputable accountant can cause such damage to their tax clients, to their clients, right, to the taxpayers, and to themselves, really, as well. I saw that quite a bit at the law firm, and it really piqued my interest in the ethics. We as professionals, what is expected of us? We are supposed to be competent. We are supposed to be telling our clients what they can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't want to hear what they can't do, but we've got to do it anyways. So I had a strong interest in ethics. And when the position at the IRS opened up for the director of the Office of Professional Responsibility, I had to try. So I did apply for that job. The school let me go on a leave of absence. And I went to Washington, D.C. and spent 5 years being the director of the Office of Professional Responsibility. And I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with that. If they're tax professionals, they all should be familiar with it. If
Yeah.
they're generally new, I'll give them some grace there. But basically, OPR is a professional oversight function. We make sure that the tax professionals are being competent, they're doing their due diligence, they're communicating, they're meeting all the requirements that they need to set a position in a tax return. They don't have any conflicts of interest, right? Just basically being a professional, not only to their clients, but also to the IRS. So it's a two-way street there. And if someone is not, someone is taking advantage of their clients, threatening their clients, lying to their clients, hurting their clients financially in the forms, then our office would investigate if we determined there were basis. Then I had the pleasure of suspending or disbarring that individual so that they could not talk to the IRS anymore. They couldn't practice before the IRS. And that was a very fulfilling job. I really enjoyed working for the IRS. I enjoyed that particular function because I was protecting not only taxpayers, I was protecting the IRS, and I was protecting the profession because there are a lot of great, upstanding, ethical, hardworking tax professionals out there. And we don't need some of those others that are tainting us, that bad apple. We don't need that bad apple in our bunch. And we want to keep our reputation as a community, a tax professional community, as pristine as possible. So I did eventually leave the IRS in just last year, and I've gone back to teaching. So yeah, tax nerd from the beginning to the end.
No, that's a wonderful story, Sharon. I think you have come a full arc where you started with practicing and then you went into the OPR and then you have turned to academia. You are training new, the partners that are going to be there in the next 10 years. So
Right.
in in this journey, what were the surprises or the shocks that you got? Because I don't want to hear the expected parts, or no one wants to hear the expected parts. It's gonna be like, uh, what are the surprises or shocks that you got at every juncture of your professional journey?
Oh, wow. There's been quite a bit. I remember when I first started at the tax court, I picked up the first brief and I would on a case and I read it and I'm thinking, oh, these poor taxpayers, the IRS is just being so mean and recalcitrant and hard. And then I read the IRS's side and I was like, oh my gosh, I think the taxpayer is not telling me the truth. And it kind of came to neither side, each side was advocating as they were supposed to do for their position, and neither was really grossly wrong. It was just they interpreted things differently. Um, and that was quite eye opening. Then it became more. 2 years of training on that really helped me when I'm taking a case or working for a client or when I was working at the IRS, that I really needed to listen to both sides. Everybody had something to say that was important. They might disagree with each other, but every piece of information, substantiation, all of that was helping to do that big picture. There's an old play called The Gates of Rashomon, which is kind of the story. There's several people that have died at this date, and each one has a different story of how the death occurred, but they're entirely different. You know, one person says he was really heroic, and somebody else says that person was really cowardly, and somebody else says that person was, you know, something else, and it just depends on your perspective.
Yeah.
So that was a great way to start a career. Couldn't have been better.
Yeah, and now how about you training these younger folks if
Mm-hmm.
that are supposed to be partners in the firm, say in 2040, right? How is that different from working with your previous professional journey? How has that been different?
I say that students, at least my students, I'm sure all the students, they're fantastic. They really are great. You know how our old generation's like, oh, those young whippersnappers, they don't have it hard or they're not working hard. That's not true. At least my students are fantastic. And to me, my biggest goal is to teach them the joy of tax. And I know that sounds a little bizarre for a lot of people,
Yeah,
but
joy of
tax
tax.
is tax is quite interesting. I mean, there's credits that help people. There's ways of getting money directly to folks. There's legislation that is that they've created that can help a tax exempt take advantage of a tax deduction. Right? Tax exempts don't pay taxes, so why would they need a tax deduction like the clean energy credit? But you can work those tax regulations so that they can take advantage of it, turn around and sell the credit to someone else, and it takes advantage of clean energy. It helps the tax exempt get monetized. It helps the business buy a credit. I mean, it's just fascinating what you can do with tax to incentivize, to get projects going, to help taxpayers out, earn income tax credit, et cetera. So when I explain those to my students and I see, you know, all they ever generally hear before they hit my class is, we all hate filing tax returns. We all hate paying our taxes. Complain, complain, complain. And I like to show them the beneficial side of tax, the interesting side of tax. And it does change their opinion about it.
Yeah, I think we should start a new hashtag or a trend. Hashtag love for taxes or hashtag taxes are fun.
I actually have a T-shirt that says "I heart tax" because
Oh, I
not very
love that.
popular to
Love
wear
that.
around, but you know, I'm really hoping it will catch on at some point.
Yeah, it's gonna catch on at some point of time.
Yeah.
Great. I love that, Sharon. I love where this conversation is going. I have a honest question from
Hmm.
you, right? You have seen a more candid view than anyone in the profession has seen. You have seen both sides of the table. You have seen what the future of the profession looks like from a partner standpoint. You're training there.
Hmm.
Is in the reality in today, is the tax profession actually moving towards AI? I mean, they are talking about AI. They are world class at
Yeah.
talking about AI. The panels, the white papers, the keynotes, the sessions, outstanding. But are the actual decisions, the change inside the firms, is that actually moving?
Uh, I would say you are correct. They are absolutely talking about
Yeah.
AI, right? Um, I'm on a conference next week, 3 panels on AI, and I'm talking about AI and tax. It is, I think, a phenomenal tool, absolutely phenomenal. Just like all tools, you just don't want to cut your finger off with it, right? Um, and
Oh,
there's a fear, right? Some of those bigger firms, they're going to go all in because for them it's a financial decision. Right? Can we implement this and get back a larger return on investment? And they can do it scale, much larger scale. So that group, I think, is going towards that direction. It's the mid-size and especially the small and the sole practitioners that are more cautious. They don't have that economy of scale. For them, it can be and it's expense. It's a finance, right? And you need to balance what can it do for me versus what it's going to cost me. And like everyone, we're going to make that decision on something that's cost effective that will give you a greater product or produce, right? So they are, let's just say, cautious, right? They're putting the toe in the water about AI. They want to learn about it. They want to hear about it. I mean, these rooms are full of folks who want to hear what every one of the speakers say about AI. And then sometimes they can have those horror stories that you got to balance out. I had this, one of my more memorable conferences is I was at the ABA. I was on a panel with a judge and 3 other attorneys. We were all talking about AI, the ethics of it. One was talking about how to use it, right? All the great tools that he uses in his small firm. And we spent a good, 50 minutes on AI. And we had a Q&A session. And the first person walks up and his question was literally, I'm tired of all this gobbledygook about AI. We don't need, why are we even talking about it? Like, where were you for the last hour? Because I thought we covered that, how it could help you so much. But there is that fear of the unknown factor for folks. And so I applaud anybody who comes to these presentations and listens, because they are looking to address those fears to get answers and make a good decision. Good for them, good for their clients.
Great. Now, I think you have hit the right tone, Sharon. The fear, in especially the mid-size and the smaller size CPA firms, is still there. When I also talk to the peers in the tax profession, they still have that fear. It's about showing them the bigger picture, that thought leadership around AI that is missing. So now, what we are going to do is a slightly different kind of a podcast. So every podcast is fun, something promotional, something like that. But I want this one to be super useful to our listeners,
Mhm.
right? So I just want to start with the upside of AI, the opportunity, not the risk landscape, not the liability framework. We'll get there. But first, what does AI actually unlock for a CPA firm? Specifically, concretely, in ways that change the economics and the quality of the work that they do, regardless of the size. And we were talking about, you know, economics and stuff. I will frame my question a little differently, like a managing partner actually thinks about. Because there are 3 problems in my view and in my conversations that generally come up in the current practice that they have. One is capacity. The hours are never enough. 24 hours is never enough for anyone. In the practice, margins, because compliance work is getting thinner.
Mhm.
And the problem 3 that nobody wants to talk about loudly in a room is the talent problem. They cannot find good enough people, and the good people that they have in their firm, they are still doing work that an algorithm might be able to do more faster, consistently, at 2 in the morning without complaints. So, how does our AI actually change each of those theoretically and practically? So,
So I would say with capacity, what AI gives you is time. And everybody who has that small business, that's the most valuable commodity you have. How much time do you have to get the job done? And if AI can help you, jumpstart you, 75% of your research can be done in minutes, right? Or 80% or 90% of a letter can be written in seconds. All of that. That is fantastic. That is lets a business either take on more work or manage more work. It can jumpstart someone who might be, and I know we see this kind of in our traditional firm. You start off doing kind of the very bottom end manual, uninteresting type of work and work your way up. You earn your spot as you go up and you become more diligent. But AI can kind of jump and get those people right into the more interesting work. And
mhm,
that ties to the talent drop. nobody wants to go through 4 years of undergraduate school, take the CPA exam, and then spend the next 2 years doing, in essence, data entry or books and records or some very basic stuff. They want to do that more interesting work, and AI is going to let that group do that to get them in right away. Now, I do see a little bit of a problem, and to be honest, I don't know how to fix it, which is I use AI. I enjoy it quite a bit. I use it for quite a number of things. It's fascinating. I just used it a moment ago to figure out what kind of router I had, right? Like, what is this thing? It took a photo of it, it told me what it was. I'm like, fantastic. Um, but if I'm doing something like I've asked it to put together a presentation for me, I can read that presentation, and because of my years of experience, I know right away if something's wrong, doesn't sound right, is suspect, right? That fear of hallucinations. Though I do tell my AI, no hallucination, no hyperbole. A couple of pet peeves I have. Claude and I have a great relationship when I write my presentations. But how you get that experience can be a little more difficult for that person coming just into the field where some of those more rote work is not there anymore because AI will pick that up. And sometimes in that rote work, you learn quite a bit without actually having any of the responsibilities. So that how we cover that gap, I'm not sure, but I do believe that it is coverable, that is fixable versus, let's say, let's not do AI. I think that's a bit short-sighted. And then margins, it's going to come to that balance between what is your AI going to cost you and what can you get out of it. And I for that one is, of course, selecting the good AI, one that's going to give you what you need. The other is to know how to use it appropriately. Right? You know what its non-limitations are, right? What can it do for you? Explore those and try more. And the more you learn about it, the more you can do with it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I absolutely love it, Sharon. I think I was in one of the rooms in one of the conferences last week, and someone uses Claude as its emotional support system, where
Mm-hmm.
if something goes wrong, she dumps her feeling to Claude, and then
Yeah,
Claude's try to talk her way through. She doesn't need answers. She doesn't need anything from me. She just needs someone to listen to without judging her and telling her what the next correct best step should be or could be,
yeah,
without being too pushy. I think
yeah.
people are using AI and the capabilities in a wide variety of manner, not just for work, also.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. I've
yeah.
had it planned vacations. I wanted to lose 10 pounds for the summer, so I looked at it on the family vacation, right? Told me what I needed to do, gave me recipes. I didn't listen to it, but it gave it the college try for me. I just
Yeah.
used it the other night, asking. I wanted a different opinion. Should I remodel my house or sell my house and move to a different one that's already been done? Right? Like, do I want to handle the remodeling? And it had some really great points I hadn't even thought about. So it's a great sounding board for all kinds of things.
Yeah. So coming back to the actual work piece, the one point that was consistent through your answer or through your conversation was the capacity piece. That AI, if it's able to do 80% of, say, tax research, 80% of your prep, maybe your first draft of your tax returns. Now that capacity opens up. And this open capacity is not just an efficiency story, it can be a transformation story for these mid-sized and smaller size CPA firms. But the whole point is, where does this capacity now go to? Right? If they are not using the capacity, like the capacity freed, what is the best case scenario where I use my experienced managers' hours that have been saved?
I think it comes down to one, you got to get over the fear factor, and find something that you can use, do a lot of research on it, and then find a system and practice and use it. I mean, even if you're you're not ready to buy that professional one. You can still practice and do things on Chat GPT or Claude, like I said, my vacation, etc. Those kinds of harmless practice type items will help you understand how AI works, what it produces. It is a system. You ask the question, it's going to give you an answer. Question is it the right answer or the full answer? Right. That's what we've got to figure out.
Right.
It's there to please. So on a professional aspect, what kind of answers are you needing or wanting that will have an AI system that can do it? Like, I don't know about a lot of folks, but I call it the initial writer block. I love to write. I'm great at editing. Or actually, I don't love to write. I hate writing. I do it, a lot of it. Just, it's not, I don't love it. Not like I love tax, but if
That
I
that's
love
coming from
editing.
a Sharyn,
Yeah,
that's coming from an attorney that doesn't love writing.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Shh,
Yeah.
secret. No one will know. It's not like I put it on a podcast or anything. Um,
You're live, your students are listening.
yeah. But for me, writing is work. Editing, I love to edit. I love to read what's already there and make it better. I mean, I just like to make things better, I guess. So for things like AI, when it puts something together for me, a presentation I'm going to give, or an article that I want to put a magazine, um, it gives me that 80% there. I give it ideas, right? So a lot of people think, oh, it's gonna take over my job, right? It's gonna write those letters for me. But you put in the information, like I want to write a letter to this client. This client is elderly. This client is easily confused or can be easily excited. I want to assure them that something is well. This is what I want the letter to state. These are the issues, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's your work. That's what AI is not replacing. You put that in, and it gives you a draft of a letter. Now, and it's done in seconds, right? And now you can take that work or that research and start culling through it and putting, no, I don't want to say this. This is a little better, or I didn't even think about that research point. Can you expand on it? Let me see if that's going to work. And it kind of adds on, and you're massaging it. And in the end, it's your product. Right? You have made your own work. You just had an assistant who happens to be a machine start the process for you.
So that's a great point, Sharon. I think the fear that AI is gonna take your job is
Mm-hmm.
a fear of the unknown that as humans we all have. The same fear was when Excel and computers came in, that my job is gonna go because computers are gonna do all the manual stuff for me. It's the same fear that is coming with AI because we don't understand how to differentiate between what AI can do and what we should do as professionals. The professional judgment that binds this industry is not going to go away. That is something that will always keep you in business, is my
Mm-hmm.
thesis. And it's more about how you build, because for 8 hours if you're spending writing something and then you'll have to give it to the client, you will not have time to review it, say twice, thrice, 4 times, reiterate it, because you are out of time, you're out of capacity.
Yeah.
Now, if the AI does 85% of the job, you still have 6 hours to rewrite it, to give better output to your client every single time. I think that is something that firms will need to, look up to.
Yeah. And AI might suggest something you hadn't thought of, right?
Yeah.
And now you have the time to go look at that different aspect or factor. It may ultimately be not workable, right? It's not relevant to this particular client. But I'm always about education. You have now gone and looked at something, learned something, and while it might not work for this client, it's up in your little noodle for the next time around.
Yep.
It might be great for another client. And so it's a great iterative process. You're learning how to ask. It's giving you answers. You are critiquing those answers. You are challenging those answers. You are learning new things. And at the all time, you're getting it done in a much shorter period of time than normal.
Right. So just to summarize, the quick snips of my understanding is the firm or the partner that moves on AI doesn't just do the same work faster, but it fundamentally is a better, a more smarter work, a more interesting work for its own workforce that they do.
Yeah.
Work that commands or will command a better fees, attract better people, because I don't think in this generation wants to do the same grunt that happened 20 years ago. And then with the time saved, they'll have better relationship with the clients, and the clients with those relationships might not even leave them. So that's a tenfold or fivefold uh, profit or an upskill or upscale of their firm that they are using with AI that no one
Mhm.
is talking about.
Yeah, everyone is, fearful of AI, but I just finished an article, and in it we were referencing how Westlaw and LexisNexis. Westlaw came out in 1973, and LexisNexis came out in 73, Westlaw in 75. Right? They were novel, they were expensive. I mean, how do we trust that it found the research we were asking for? You'd be better to go to the library and find those books yourself. And when I went to law school, we learned on how to find the books. There was books and books in the library, and we had to practice finding all these answers in different books. I don't know anyone today that goes and looks for a book. It would almost be malpractice if an attorney or even a tax professional was manually looking up things that could easily be obtained through electronic research, right? No matter what the platform is. AI is just taking that electronic research and adding the additional query tools on top of it, and seeing a vast, larger volume of information and gathering it and making, you know, judgments, surmising, guessing. AI is a form of predictive coding. Um, so it's predicting what it thinks you're looking for. May not work, might work really great, but that's go back to your judgment. But no one challenges the use of LexisNexis or Westlaw these days. I mean, if Lexis gave me a case and said this was a site for it, I don't check the book to see if it's the correct site. I don't check the book to see if the case is exactly the same in the book. I don't even know where to find the book these days. So it's, AI is just the new kid on the block. And eventually, 20, 30 years from now, no one will think that you wouldn't use AI to try to do your work.
So, that's absolutely correct, Sharon. I think most of the partners know what the advantages of AI is, or the whole profession knows what the advantages of AI is. Like we have been very, 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 as I said, we have been world class in presenting the case study for AI in every forum that is ever possible. But this is my private thought, or this is my personal thought, is the accounting profession has the great comfortable illusion where, you know, I or each of the partners, they assume that the AI transition will be everyone will go together and we'll get there together sometime at some point of time. But I don't think that's true. History is not specially kind to where we'll get their strategy. It's how you make a move today is going to define what you are doing in a decade. If I don't
Yeah.
make a move, if I am still waiting, I might not even survive the next 10 years because the pace at which AI is moving, it's amazing. Every single day, every second day, there's something new coming up. And if a firm doesn't keep pace with it, that firm might go out of business because there's someone else doing better than them, giving better services. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
you know,
investing in the
we,
market, right? If you
yeah,
don't invest in the market now, then 10 years
correct.
from now, you haven't earned those. You can invest 10 years from now, but you have lost 10 years of growth or profit. And it could be the same here. Now, there are a lot of horror stories, right? We see the news all the time. Some attorneys, it's always the attorneys, I don't know, lawyers, what can I say? Um,
Yeah.
that's why they make jokes about us. Uh, uh, that they're always in trouble, right? Yeah, hallucinations, false this or false that. And it's horrific, it's terrifying, it's embarrassing. But here are some attorneys that are going out and trying and failing, but they are trying and learning, right? And we get to learn from all of their mistakes. And that's going to be what's happening right now is those who are in and trying and learning learn from those mistakes and they keep progressing forward. Where somebody who waits 5 or 10 years from now is going to be making the mistakes, the same beginner mistakes, but they'll be making it when there's a whole group of 10-year seasoned AI users who are just streaming along with no errors or problems. So
No,
everyone
absolutely
likes to make
correct.
sure somebody else gets in the water and see if the shark gets them first. But eventually, we're all going to get in the water.
Right. Obviously, they'll all get in the water. So, just to keep things simple for the audience, right? So
Mhm.
I'll give us very specific example because accountants like specific details. Firm A uses AI, implements it, gives better service. Firm B waits, gives the same manual grunt, delays, or there have been deadline misses, they have been burnt out in the team. So, where do you think 3 years from now? What will be the difference between firm A and firm B, both from a talent and a firm or a client relationship perspective?
But if they've got a good AI program and they're using it and they're learning to use it and they're learning from their errors and they are trying, obviously being ethical, they're going to have a better growth. Right? They're going to be able to do more faster and service their clients quicker. Now, the paper I just wrote with another author is talking about malpractice and AI. But a lot of us hear, oh, yeah, malpractice, right? If somebody does something wrong with AI, you could get sued. But the other half of our paper is if you don't use AI, could you get sued? Because clients also know about AI. They know that there are programs out there that'll go faster, maybe even more accurate, depending on the task, than a human or a manual review could do. They could process volumes of work. Clients are going to expect that kind of result, and they're going to expect it faster and cheaper. Right? If you're talking about the first firm has used AI for 3 years, their clients are getting their work done very quickly. They're taking care of vast amounts of documents and information, and they're processing it very quickly. And they're paying possibly less for it because they're not paying a newer associate to manually go through book journal entries, inventory coding, whatever it is that you're processing there, then the clients are like, why am I going over here for something that's slower and more costly when I could go to this firm who'll get my work done faster and cheaper?
Yeah,
Now, not to say you get sued malpractice, but eventually it's going to get to the point where, somebody should have used AI. They might have caught something if had they used an AI service rather than an individual looking at it. So I'm not saying that that's the future now. I'm just saying that is, well, can't say the future now. That's redundant. Not redundant. That's an oxymoron. I'm not saying that's happening now. I'm saying what possibly could happen in the future.
no, that's absolutely correct, Sharon. I think the future holds to firm or the future of the firm is change, and change is always constant, as we all know. If we just do the waiting game, it might be too late, and then it's gonna be never. There might not be a second chance to this riding this wave, right?
Yeah, flexibility, I think, is what
Yeah,
keeps many businesses going, right?
right.
There's
Yeah,
always going to be something that pops up. Can you adjust and incorporate? Um, the question is not, are you going to use AI? The question is going to be, when are
yeah.
you going to be using AI?
Absolutely. I think that's spot on. It's not when are you going to use AI or how soon are you going to ride the chain is what is going to define your future.
Mhm.
Great. So I think, Sharon, we have come to the most exciting part of our podcast. It's a rapid fire round. It's a rapid fire to close this discussion. There is no rough committee
Uh-oh.
review, no caveats. No, well, it depends on
Always
facts and
answer B.
circumstances. Yeah.
B is always the
I am
answer.
not going. I am not going to give you any options. I'm just going to randomly throw questions at you. And I want your. I know I'm asking a tax attorney to give an unqualified answer, but we'll get through this together. Right?
All right.
So, cool. Are you ready for this?
I'll try. Yes.
Cool. So, the single biggest upside of AI for a CPA firm that most past partners are still underestimating.
Time. How much time it can save you.
Great. The second question, the mistake firms make when they move too fast without thinking it through.
Uh, thinking it through. I would say not doing their research. And to be honest, you can use AI to do the research.
Great. The one thing that becomes more valuable for a CPA partner in an AI world, not less.
Knowledge and experience.
Love that, love that. The first specific thing a managing partner should do on a Monday morning if this conversation moves them.
Uh, find out about AI systems that would be sizable for their firm and what they could offer.
I'll answer this one. So Sharon is speaking in one of the conferences. Go listen to her. She's talking about AI, so you learn a lot about her and what the future holds.
Yeah,
Great.
I was going to say that the one I'm doing at the conference is how the IRS is using AI, right?
Yeah,
You have got one side that's using it. What are you going to do, right? And then the other thing I talk frequently about is the ethics of using AI. We're never going to just hand over our professionalism to AI. We're going to use it as professionals.
great. I think with that IRS point, I was reading somewhere is in the year 2023, IRS had only 10 AI tools. By March 2025, they had 126 AI tools. That's almost a 13-fold increase in the last 3 years.
Yes.
And most firms are not even trying a different product or trying to upskill themselves. Like the other side of the table is already, equipped to find your faults. Are you?
Yeah. One of the things, and that's exactly what I'm talking about next week at the conference, besides the systems, but how are you going to adjust your practice for that? And one of the
Yeah,
things that I can suggest is you use AI to see what the IRS's AI might see in your return or your client or your position, and whether that's can you substantiate it? Can you supplement it in the return? Can you add a disclosure? Do you need to reassess that position? Because one of the things we're seeing with not only the IRS's increase in AI use, but also at the same time its reduction in human workforce is that AI will flag something and it'll go through the automated process. Letters are coming, provide documentation, do this, but there's no human on the other end to read those documents or do anything. So the automated system is just keeps going until maybe you've reached a point much further down in the tax administrative process than you would have if it was touched by a human right from the beginning. So to avoid that long problem for your client, or let's say an escalated problem, you use AI to see what would be triggering for the IRS. And I'm not saying, put something false in the return, but you can correct those issues and spots. I like everything we put in, we want to run smoothly through the IRS. So hey, use an AI system and say, if I file this return under the IRS revenue manual, what would cause the IRS to want to audit this return? If it audited the return, what would be the issues? If these were the issues, what would be the answers, the supplement, the substantiation, the disclosure that will help me avoid those issues? And there you've just done a fantastic job for your clients, making sure that return gets processed smoothly through the IRS system.
I think it's pilots running, uh, training themselves from us as like from a simulator is something
Yeah, I
that
call
you
it
do with your tax return.
Yeah, I call it red teaming, right? You're going to red team your own work. Here's my
Right,
work. Where are my errors? Where are my faults? Where are my weaknesses?
correct.
Um, yeah.
No, great. Okay, the last one. Finish the sentence. The CPA firm that wins the next decade is the one that.
May not be there in the next decade. um, yeah. I mean, just as you said, things are moving so fast with AI that, we don't want anyone to jump recklessly, but you certainly don't want to ignore it. You want to be proactive in checking it out, see what's working, trying it out, and then building from there.
Great. I think to all the listeners, write down or pull in a transcript of everything that has been spoken about today. The next Monday, after you hear it, make sure that you take this to your partners because this is something that needs to, or there has to be a radical change in how people are working today. And it's things are moving fast, as you said. IRS did a 13-fold increase. Your firm has not even implemented one of them. So it's time, the right time to think, and today is the right time to think about it.
And your younger associates are getting trained on AI in the schools. Right? We're implementing it in our courses, so they're going to leverage their experience and their skills, but they're also going to expect it, right? Like just like any one of us when we were school, we went to an accounting firm. We've expected to have some sort of a research tool
Right.
um, to look through.
Yeah. Obviously, yes. It's in a firm, in a mid-size or small-size firm, everyone has the same accountability, the same responsibility, or the oneness to the firm that they all are responsible to take the firm a one step ahead of their competition. Great, Sharon. I thank you so much for your time today, the clarity, the honesty, and for being the kind of person who has genuinely cared about this profession across every single chapter of your remarkable career. It has been an honor sitting across the table with you, talking about stuff, and not making a joke about accountants having no personalities, which I deeply appreciate.
No, I only diss on the lawyers, so
Yeah. Great. I think that's it for today. I will see you everyone in the next episode.